Welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays talk about and review their favorite Star Wars content while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and my dream is to be a club promoter.
Okay.
That was a tease for the really extended Patreon discussion that Bradley and I had prior to hitting record on the actual episode, because I did start watching the new season of Temptation Island.
That's right.
And I have a lot of opinions about it.
I swear to God, you and Chris just need to start a side podcast where you just talk about reality TV. I would be very curious to watch your version of like a recap show of. That's it.
If I find myself, because I know you and I have talked about doing limited series. Obviously, they would have to be shows that you don't work on.
Right, and then I would also want them to be more like a live format where like we could just get on live and then just talk about. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, if the audience is interested in hearing something like that from us, please let us know.
Yeah,
because we value that feedback. I would personally love to do some content with Bradley about something that isn't Star Wars. Not that I don't love talking about Star Wars with Bradley, but we do talk about other things. If the patrons, again, plug that Patreon. I swear I'll stop after this, but patreon.com/Gold Squadron Gays. This episode we're going to talk about, and the one we're going to talk about next week, we watched them together.
Yes.
We were in the same city, and so we sat down on Bradley's couch and watched the two episodes, and we have a live where we talk about it.
Immediately after, yeah.
Immediately after, we watch them, and then we hit play on that live. So you can actually, if you want to hear some of our preliminary thoughts, head over to that Patreon. Bradley uploaded the whole live to that. But we're here to deep dive it. We're here to talk about it. What are we talking about?
Today we're talking about Maul Shadow Lord Season 1, Chapter 3, Whispers in the Unknown. As Maul's plans come together, Devin considers her options. Charles, what's one thing you liked about the episode and one thing you did not?
One thing I liked about the episode, we're going to talk a lot about Maul and his conversations with Devin, where he's basically trying to convince her to like join him by being like, oh, we're so alike. We both had to deal with the same thing, yada, yada, yada. I can't possibly go into all of every line he says is worth an extended conversation. The script in this episode is so fucking good. As a theater nerd, I love a monologue. I adore a monologue. That's one of the sad things about TV is we don't really get monologues, but I love a monologue. Maul just going on and on and on. I loved it. I was fixated on it. I can't possibly talk about every line. One thing I disliked about the episode, this is hard. This is going to be hard the whole time. Conceptually, I understand why the Marg Krim scenes are there. They move the plot along of our overall meta-narrative, and they are going to set up next episode what's going to happen there. They are a little incongruous with the rest of it, but that is the tiniest of tiny nitpicks. They're just kind of there and existing, and all the other scenes are the standouts. Because Lawson also gets like a really good arc in this one, and we really dive more into. And this is something I've noticed the show will do. It'll sort of introduce something in the prior episode, and there'll be kind of a random scene that doesn't really fit with the rest of the episode, but we need it to establish a thing later. So last week we had the Riley scene that's just kind of there, but it comes back up in this episode. We get a much more in-depth scene, which makes more sense because we saw the previous scene. So as we're going episode by episode, there's these little scenes where like, we're setting this up, it's going to pay off down the line, but you're just going to kind of sit through the setup now. Which is not to say the scenes are not good, they're just kind of there compared to the Brander, Lawson, and Maul scenes. What about you, Bradley? One thing you liked and one thing you did not.
So I think I said this while we were watching it. I think one thing I liked was the inclusion of the Riley scene. I liked seeing Lawson going to the sports game and, supporting his son and all that good stuff. And that was a really good scene. And it really sets up the character dynamic of him and his son and the disconnect of their relationship and how his job is taking over. But I also didn't like that scene because I didn't like how you have a chance now to set up a new lore, a new thing. Like we didn't get to see the sport that Riley plays. I know that's such like a small thing. And it's like, okay, he obviously plays lacrosse. Like it's not that deep. But like, does he play lacrosse? Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't actually know what the sports ball game is because we only see him on the field or whatever for a second. We don't even get a wide shot of the field. We only see a close up of Riley. So then it cuts to him and then he comes talks to his dad and then it cuts away to him being called back on the field and then again it's that same shot of him just close up. We never see Riley play the game. We never, and we know that he makes a good shot or wins or whatever. And there's just not enough detail, I think, in that scene. I think it's a little because obviously the scene's not focused on the sport. It's focused on the conversation that he's having with Docky. But I like the context and the expansive of the universe to be like, okay, let's see what sports are like in Star Wars. Let's see what other things there are other than fucking pod racing. Like, I want to know because, like, Bad Batch did a really good job of being like, hey, they also have racing in Bad Batch. Is it the same thing as pod racing? No, because they're not pod racers. They're other kind of speeders. It's just a different type of racing, but it's like, look, pod racing is not the only fucking NASCAR in the whole entire universe. Like there's other types of NASCAR. I want to see other things. Like we never get sports in Star Wars because it's just not something we see a lot. There is, I think in the prequels, we do see like on the screen in the background at one point robots playing some kind of game or droids playing some kind of sports game, but we never like see anything else. Like we don't
Uh,
really see that.
I also need to highlight there's a very excellent series of middle grade novels by Jason Fry that ties into Rebels that are basically sports books. But they're books, so they don't count, but they're
They're
great, so I wanted to
books.
highlight
I
them.
know. I know.
Yes.
But that's my really only complaint with the episode is that I felt like I wanted to see the sport. I didn't feel like we got it felt like a easy animation trick to not show you something and imply something when you could have just shown us. Like it you didn't really need those close-up shots. You could have had like better, I don't know. Like it we could have just seen vaguely how the sport works. We didn't have to get into detail. Like I didn't need to see a full play-by-play like action sequence of him playing the fucking sport, but like them doing something in the sport would have been like him making the goal. Like it's made off camera, like we hear it and they're like Lawson scores or whatever. We should have seen that at least. That's my minimal nitpick for the
Yeah,
episode.
we got to dig deep to find these nitpicks.
Yeah,
I try not to do this episode had nothing at all that
right.
I disliked. I try to save that for particularly special moments. So we haven't had one of those yet, but I imagine there's one that's come. There's probably an episode that's coming.
Well, I have a thing I don't like about the episode, but I know why it's in the episode and why it's there, and I won't critique it because I get it as a narrative
But
like
no,
thing.
Bradley, no. But I'm sorry. I thought the point of making content was to just pointlessly hate on things for attention and
No,
clicks. I thought that was the
absolutely.
point here. I
Mm-mm.
thought that we weren't doing in-depth analysis using both of our collective years of training in TV and writing and general media literacy and understanding. No. I thought we were here to just
Right.
complain about what the people poured time and love and effort into making purely to enrich ourselves. I thought that's what we were doing here. But
Well,
did I
shit.
miss a memo? Did
Well,
I?
maybe we would make money if we did that.
We probably would, but then we wouldn't be making a show that I actually like.
That's true.
So
Because like, why would I
there you
make a show
go.
about hating Star Wars if
That would be the dumbest fucking thing. Sure, I could probably make a bunch of money off of it, but then, like, once I'm done drinking myself to sleep every night to cope with the fact that I'm a miserable pile of shit,
right?
then who knows? Who knows what I would do? Before we dive into the episode, I want to highlight a piece of feedback that I got because it ties really well into this episode. And also, I couldn't find the words for it, but this is from our friend Steph, also over at Darkside Divas. Hi, Steph. Sorry you have to deal with Chris. And she says, quote, I think part of the reason it's frustrating to watch Maul use "you were indoctrinated" to manipulate Devon into joining the team he was deaf indoctrinated into is because Maul is the poster child for repeating patterns of abuse. We
Mhm.
know he fears slash hates his abuser, Sidious, and doesn't want to be like him, but we watch him slip into the patterns again and again until he dies, having never broken them. Maul is a tragic figure. I do give the writers credit for the way he is with Devon. How it's like the halfway step between his recruitment attempts of Ahsoka and Ezra. End quote. I asked permission to read that on the show because I thought that was super insightful into some of the stuff we were talking about
No, for sure.
with how, and he's gonna fucking do it again in this episode. He's gonna
Yes.
be like, he's
Yeah.
gonna expose, not to jump ahead to one of my notes already, he's gonna reveal more about himself
Right.
than he's going to reveal about Devon when he's giving his monologues about
Exactly.
how she totally feels bad about this whole thing. No, dude, it's you, but you are also repeating those same cycles of manipulation. Yeah, it really is continuing the cycles of abuse. When Steph said that, I was like, yeah, no, that's the phrasing I was looking for. Anyway, we should probably talk about the actual episode.
Section 1. At Maul's secret base, Devon has escaped her cell, but she is brought to Maul, who tries to engage her over tea. Maul sensing her distrust while attempting to get her to see him differently. He argues they are similar, both shaped by loss and betrayal after the fall of their respective orders. Devon, still viewing him as the enemy, grabs a lightsaber and demands to leave. Maul shuts off the lights, leaving her in total darkness. Meanwhile, at the Janix Civil Defense headquarters, Lawson orders an ongoing sector-by-sector search for the fugitives. Two Boots resumes duty, reviews intel and Devon and Vario, and offers to investigate the spaceport for leads for Maul Syndicate connections while Lawson focuses on resting. And back in the darkness, Devon uses the stolen lightsaber for light as Maul taunts her while she searches for an escape. Elsewhere, Rookcast interrogates Vario about the next Pike shipment.
Every fucking establishing shot in the show is like a painting. I want it on my wall.
I don't know why they don't do that. I would buy
I
prints
I would
of like
I would I would pay for prints. I have never said this about an animated show. I would buy prints of this show to hang up on my wall.
because it's genuine matte paintings. Like I like that. Like I don't know.
I
They could
love
find a way
it.
to do it.
I love it. Sell the cityscape shots of Janek. I will buy them. I like how Rook basically rolls up and is like, "Hey guys, I just got to remind you all that I could totally take you." Teenage girl wandering around in the sewers unarmed. So, just so you know, I was onto your shit the whole time.
Yeah, we knew you
This
were
was
gonna
all planned.
escape. Like
We
it's all
knew you were
planned.
going to
Yeah.
escape. He wanted you to escape.
Right.
Go that way.
Yeah.
I Rookcast is not a character who's ever had a lot to do. And
Hmm.
I like that the show is giving her things to do and fleshing her out a bit. We'll get into it particularly in at the episodes 5 and 6 block, where she has a scene with a couple of Mandalorians that's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like that she's here and doing stuff. The Cassius T line sent me on a deep dive.
Okay.
And you would think it wouldn't. Maul has this tea set that he's pouring tea into. And the trivia guide, it notes that Maul was introduced to Cassius T by Pre Vizsla, the Death Watch leader. We saw that happen in the only other appearance of Cassius T in a piece of media, which was Star Wars The Clone Wars, the episode Imminent from the 5th season. However, according to Wikipedia, T made from the Cassius Florets first appeared in the young reader novel The Clone Wars Darth Maul Shadow Conspiracy. Yes, it has 2 colons in there.
Oof.
That was written by Jason Fry and published in 2013. Shout out to Jason Fry. I love that guy. It's first identified as Cassius T in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Traveler's Guide to Batuu, also with 2 fucking colons, written by Cole Horton and published in 2020. The StarWars.com databank entry for Cassius T, specifically Maul's tea set, notes that Maul has become an expert, a quiet expert in the brewing of Cassius tea. A routine, quote, a routine that allows a moment of reflection and a brief calm to combat his bubbling rage, end quote. This is not the last time we will see Maul have a moment of meditation. And I think it's notable too that when he has a moment of meditation, both times we see him do it, he has to be like doing something
Mm.
with his hand. He either needs to be brewing tea or the other thing. We'll talk about it when we get to episode 5.
Okay.
Also, tea ceremonies, very important to a lot of cultures. The ritual of making tea, the way that he does the movements to pour the Cassius tea is very ritualistic. And then on top of that, something I noticed when he starts like getting angrier, because there's a moment you can hear him start to get more pissed off, his hands don't waver. He keeps Like the tea, like I was expecting that his hand to start shaking and the tea to like spill. It doesn't. It remains perfect the whole time, no matter how angry he gets. The fucking details in this show, man. The fucking details in this show are insane. Anyway, that was a giant deep dive on Cassius T that Bradley has humored me on.
I love it.
He says that Devin should tell him her name because it would be polite. I love, or it would be proper. I love how polite this man is.
So, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but does he know her name by this point? Like, is he still fucking with her? Or like, I don't think he knows her name by this point.
Debatable. I interpreted the final scene as he knew the name the whole time, which I
That's what
think
I
I
thought.
told you. I have read some stuff online where people have interpreted as they formed a force bond when she got really angry, and that's when he figured it out.
Hmm.
I don't know if this is confirmed anywhere, how exactly he did it. I
Okay.
think it's reasonable to say he doesn't know her name, or you can reasonably interpret it just based on what's in the text. If we don't go to any extra textual analysis and we just stick to what's in the text, we can interpret it either way. He either knows and he wants her to tell him
Right.
as
That's how
like
I
a
interpret it. Yeah.
buy-in thing, which is
Hmm.
also how I interpreted the scene, or you can argue he didn't know and he was genuinely trying to find out.
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't really, because I don't think it genuinely matters what her name is. So I think that's why I think he already knows at this point because there's no, I mean, you could literally, let's take it at face value. He never needs to know her name. There's no genuine reason why he ever would need to know her name
No, he
whatsoever.
wants her to tell him
It's a trust
because
thing.
then that's a
Yeah.
buy-in.
Yeah. It's like
Then
a
she has put some chips in the pot.
something.
One
Yeah.
chip, one very tiny chip,
Hmm.
but that's enough to get you into the game.
That's right.
He also tells her, "We do what we must to survive." I just want to put a pen in that. It's going to come up later.
Okay.
That he tells her that those specific words. Then he says, and I also remember this is a moment I like turned to you on the couch and was dumbstruck. He says, quote, "My brother was murdered, my mother was murdered," end quote. Star Wars visual animation doesn't really like to reference non-visual stuff very often, which I get because we don't necessarily want to like alienate audiences viewing the everything should work together and bolster the understanding of it. But you shouldn't
Right.
have need to have read X to watch Y because they need to make the show accessible to new people because they want to bring new people in. However, the Son of Dathomir comic
Hmm.
was based on unproduced episodes of the Clone Wars. They had the script
Okay.
ready to go. And that is what is being referenced when it talks about Talzin dying.
Interesting.
Because Sidious or Grievous, I think it's Grievous, kills Talzin. I think it's very interesting that it gets a little nod in here. Jumping over to the police precinct, Two Boots does mention Lawson's deviant connections, which he does not sound thrilled about.
Which every cop in the history of every cop show has a deviant informant
Yes,
connection. Like it's just
this is a
that's just
cop
a
trope.
it's just a
This is
cop
how
trope.
cop trope works. Is
But
they
my thing
always
is like,
have some guy in the underworld who's like their
right.
guy that tells them stuff.
But like I don't understand why I guess because Two Boots is a droid, so he doesn't really understand nuance that much. I find it interesting that the because Two Boots is supposed to be like the cop partner trope technically, even though he's a droid, which I find kind of hard to do because droids are very binary and they have to follow strict rules, whereas a human cop partner does not have to follow those rules. They just follow the rules of their superior. They don't have to follow the rules of the the police force. They just do whatever their superior says.
I think part of the point of Two Boots, and I think part of the intentionality with the character, seems to be that he is rigid because
Yeah.
he's operating off of a set of base programming. He is programmed a certain way to follow procedure and follow protocol. And Lawson is willing to bend that because he knows that the procedure and the protocol is not always right.
Right.
And Two Boots cannot understand that. Well, they'll have a conversation later in the episode. I want to talk about the conversation when we get to it.
Okay.
But we'll see that Two Boots has a very naive understanding of the Empire. He is basing it off prior experience with the Republic, and he's basing it off protocol, and he's basing it off secondhand accounts. He's never experienced the Empire directly.
Right, because as far
So,
as he knows, the Republic and the Empire are the same thing.
right.
It's not really different to him because technically it's not.
Technically, it isn't.
It's the
Technically, the
same thing.
government, there's a continuity of government. It's still run by the Senate.
Right.
It's still run by the same guy that's been running it
Hmm.
for 15 years. It's just called something different now. And he doesn't
Exactly.
understand that when it became a fascist state, the entire internal vibe shifted and
Right.
how they may be doing the same procedures, but the empire's not going to behave like the republic did because it doesn't have the republic's ideals and it's not trying to have ideals, it's just trying to have power. He doesn't understand that difference. What he does understand is that Lawson should go to his kid's game. In the context of episode 5,
Hmm.
I was not going to give this moment a lot of like thought. Then I watched episode 5 and we try not to jump ahead, but I'm also, this is why we like doing shows after they've already come out,
Right.
because I can say this is going to be important later that Two Boots is not completely emotionless. He likes Riley and he knows that Lawson's relationship with Riley is important. And
Hmm.
he also cares about Riley and knows Riley will want his dad at his game. And so he volunteers to take on the menial work so that Lawson can go spend a little bit of time with his kid.
And his reasoning is correct in that he's a droid. That's what they're for. He loves menial tasks. He loves doing labor work or whatever because he's programmed to like doing, you know, menial tasks and paperwork and things like that because he's a droid. He doesn't have an opinion on like, oh, this is boring.
My only real note on the Maul and Devon scene, because like I said in the beginning,
Hmm.
I cannot dive into everything in
Right.
this sequence. It's too good. Is I want to note that he's revealing a lot more about himself in this because he is just spouting off like his own feelings. And there's one line in particular where he says that, quote, you crave that unfulfilled destiny. Because he has his whole thing is like, well, you were trained for this specific thing. You were trained to do this. You were the best at this. You were told you had a destiny, and then all of that was taken away from you. All of that was cast aside. You're now stuck in the middle of the underworld because the person who abused you and trained you and molded you into a weapon for him, for his use, never cared about you. You were just a tool to him. Oh shit, I'm talking about myself, aren't I?
Right.
Except he never has that last moment. He's just, he's channeling his own pain and his own grief and his own rage into this, trying to both project it onto Devon and claw at her insecurities to twist her to make it seem like she's like him. It is brilliantly, brilliantly done.
Yeah, and I'll say like this is the thing that I was talking about earlier where I was like, I don't like this in the episode, but I understand it. I don't like how we constantly keep cutting back to this, like where it's like back and forth of this, like she's still in the darkness. She's still like I'm like, just play the scene out. Like I want to see the whole conversation for 5, 6 minutes long. Like I want to see the whole scene. Because if you think about it, the whole entire scene, it's only one scene. It's they have the tea ceremony and then she's in the darkness and then they fight at the end. Like it is 3 parts. That is split up every other scene in this entire episode. It is constantly cutting back to her and him monologuing her in the darkness. And I don't like that from a like just a personal standpoint, but I understand why it's in there, right? I It needs to be in there. I just would prefer to see it all at once. But for the sake of pacing, I understand why it's in there.
I was about to disagree with you, but I could also see that.
Yeah.
Like, I could see them having started with the tea ceremony and then not returned to Maul and Devon until the end of the episode and let it play out for 5 minutes uninterrupted. I could also see how that could have been done, and I think would have also worked really well. I think the way that it works within the context of the episode still works,
Correct.
but I think that that could have also worked.
Section 2. Two Boots and Officer Reb investigate a warehouse where they stumble upon a Pike interrogation. Firefight ensues, and they defeat several enforcers. Rook Cass and her team show up to ambush them with a rocket launcher, and Two Boots pursues but is ultimately fails as the attackers escape. Meanwhile, Lawson arrives at a local stadium to see his son before a game, and he is approached by Master Docky, who seeks information about Devon's whereabouts. Their talk is cut short by an emergency call, and Docky vanishes, and Lawson leaves for duty, and Riley is left disappointed as he notices his father's absence.
So the Pikes have a new design.
Hmm.
This is noted in the StarWars.com trivia guide.
Okay.
Quote, the design of the Pike species in Maul Shadowlord is a hybrid of their live action look seen in the Book of Boba Fett and their original, more stylized design created for the Clone Wars, end quote. I thought that was kind of cool that they are doing, once again, something transitioned to live action and now future animations trying to find a middle ground between the
And
old version
what's
and the new
different
version.
about it exactly? Is it the fact they're not wearing masks or something, or what's the
They look a little closer to the like fishy
right,
version from like Book of Boba Fett.
right. Okay,
So they're
maybe
a
I
little
just
closer to that, but they're still
yeah.
wearing, they're still like got the same head shape that
Oh,
they
I
do.
see.
So like they have a photo on StarWars.com. The ones in live action are much more round.
Hmm. Well, because they're going around a human head in live action, and then versus,
Yes.
yeah.
And they're these big bulky thing,
Sure, of
alien
course.
things in animation, and this one's kind of somewhere in the middle.
I see.
We do also see the stadium, which was a little confusing
Hmm.
because I assumed Riley was like a high school athlete, like was playing like generic high school sports, and they've got this huge stadium, which is way bigger than any high school would have.
Right, and we talked about this when we were watching it. We
We
were
were
like, wait a
watching the
minute,
live. We were like, wait, what sort of sports is he playing?
like, is he a
Like, what league is
professional?
he in?
Yeah, because like it felt very like, no, this is like professional sports ball. This is not, or whatever
Maybe this
sport this
just
is.
maybe this irks me because I spent so much time in my high school football
Yeah,
stadium, not because I was playing. Obviously, I was playing clarinet in the marching band. That's more what I did, but I did have to spend a lot of time in that stadium.
right.
And so I'm like, how big is this sport?
Yeah, I'm thinking like two things. We had two theories that we brought up, which was one, this is high school sports. However, because they're in a city, state, planet thing, like it's just big. Like it's just a big fucking city. So obviously, even high school sports would be considered big, right? Because it's just a fuck ton of people live in this planet. Or he's more so on the verge of like first year college student kind of thing who is just playing sports at a semi college level or whatever, and then that is just really popular. College ball or whatever, some kind of college sport is all, or university sport is always very popular, and they usually play in a very big stadium as well. I could see it both ways. It really doesn't make a difference to the story. However, Riley is such an interesting character because like I want him to both be like because he serves two purposes. He's both a cop trope of innocent family member, right? That the cop has to constantly protect, or is like the only reason why they even wake up in the morning. Because otherwise, if they didn't have that person, they would hate themselves and hate their job and hate everything, right? And they would be a
They
terrible
need
person.
someone to like be a morality pet, basically,
Exactly, the
to
grounding thing.
it's your god awful, honestly, fuck save the cat, but it's your save the cat moment with your
Yeah.
protagonist, your cop protagonist.
Hmm.
Of you need the moment with their family to show that they're probably on the outs with their family, but like yeah, that's part of the purpose that Riley serves in this is
Right.
to be somebody to show that Brander Lawson really does have emotions deep down inside of him.
Exactly.
And the
And
other thing you were going to say,
well, the other thing I was going to say is, but I also kind of want him to be at that semi-independent college age so that if what we theorized would happen in the show, which was that somehow Lawson doesn't make it out of the show, Riley wants to seek revenge for that thing and wants to either A, become a cop or B, become a vigilante of some kind. He needs to be kind of an adult to do that. Like he can't necessarily be a fucking teenager. Not that Star Wars has shied in the past of a teenager being the
No.
main character doing whatever the fuck they want. However,
Riley Lawson becoming Robin
that's what I'm saying.
would be
Like,
fucking hilarious. Well, so I have a theory that the show is going to time jump between seasons, similar to how Bad Batch did it,
sure.
to where, or even Clone Wars or Rebels, all of them have time jumped, but I think the Maul ones are going to be significant time jumps that
Right.
we're gonna see over the course of the show it get up to the point where he was in
In
Rebels.
Rebels. Right.
And part of that is I think Riley is as young as he is because he's going to continue throughout the show. That he's going to make it out of this season, and we're going to get to see him get older as the show progresses. I did go on a little bit of a deep dive with regards to Bodekin, the
Okay.
sport that
The
Riley
sport
plays.
that I want more information from.
Well, okay, so here we go. This is the Charles Deep Dive Show, and it's all reference to Star Wars, so Bradley can't
Right.
cut it out. Ha ha. So, the StarWars.com trivia guide notes a couple of different sports that we have seen in Star Wars before. There is Limmy, which appeared in the 1994 weird ass novel, The Crystal Star. Don't have time to get into The Crystal Star. It's one of the weirder Legends books, and I'm saying this to somebody who I made read the entire Jedi print series. Somehow, Crystal Star is weirder than that.
Okay.
Uh, it also notes Huttball, which is a playable game in Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's their sort of PvP, one of their PvP kind of arena things. Then it notes a game called Gravball, which I mentioned earlier the Jason Fry novels, Servants of the Empire. That is the sport that Zer Leonis plays in Servants of the Empire. Now, I understand that the trivia guide is connecting it back to the canon story. Grabball actually predates that. It first appeared in the comic X-Wing Rogue Squadron number 25, which was published in 1997 and has appeared in a lot of Star Wars Legend stories. It was brought into canon in Servants of the Empire because Jason Fry wrote a bunch for Legends. So we have seen some sports in Star Wars before, haven't really been the focus except for Servants of the Empire. Generally, they're just kind of there. Now, there's another note on the StarWars.com trivia guide, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because I want to watch your face as I read this to you. Quote, the game of Bodekin has some lacrosse and Jai influence, and although we never see the game in action, creators figured out the rules of the game for reference, end
Fuck
quote.
off. No, that's not
They
how
know
this
how the game
works.
is played,
No, I
but
do
they
not.
didn't animate any of it.
I don't agree. Unless you see a body on screen, the person is not dead. Literally, same rules apply here. Unless I see how the game is played in some capacity, like Sabak, like whatever, then it doesn't exist. The rules don't, you can't make up the rules and just not use them in the show. Like, I need to see it. Animators, stop doing this.
I love watching you get super angry at
Because
things.
I know what they did. They all sat down one day. I know this is how they did it. They sat down one day and they were like, okay, how does the sports game work? And they made all the rules and they literally have probably a Bible somewhere where they wrote all this down. It's probably in the show Bible. All the sports, even though we're never going to see it. They wrote
God,
down
I
all the
would
fucking
chop
rules.
off my hand to get the show Bible for this. I would ritualistically chop off my hand
Yeah,
if they would give me the show Bible for this show.
I agree. For any Star Wars show, I want to see a show Bible.
Truly, I do.
I
I
want
I
to see
never
how
will.
the creative of a show Bible for Star Wars shows works because I genuinely would want to see it for both animation and live action. I want to see both different ones because I know they're different, but I want to see it.
Speaking of Riley, Lawson has this conversation with Riley where he's like, "Oh no, I'll stay down here conveniently next to the exit, because it's a better view."
Hmm.
Riley's like, well, gosh, one of my friends and teammates, his family saved you a seat. And Lawson's like, no, I'll stay by the exit. View's better here. And Riley gives him this look, which the animation is so fucking good on the show that Riley gives him this look of like, you are so full of shit. Like, I know that you're going to duck out the literal fucking second you get a call.
Yeah.
And then what happens? He ducks out the literal fucking second he gets a call.
Well, because sitting down implies I'm going to be here for X amount of time. Like I have decided to make my time to walk up to the stands, find the seat, sit down in the seat. I'm not going to just immediately get up and run back to work because now I've taken the time kind of thing to sit down. And he's like, well, I have easy access to escape if I
Mhm.
need to, because it's in the back of his mind that what if I get called for work?
He
It's
knows
not,
he's gonna, it's not an if, it's a win.
and he's
This
not
game's
submitting
last
to the fact that he needs to commit to the game. Like he needs to just set down the comm for 2 hours and like watch his son's game. If not, that doesn't register to him.
Speaking of people that are absolutely full of shit, the only note I have about the Lawson and Docky conversation is that Lawson has already clocked Docky
Yes.
immediately.
Hmm.
He's like, he's on to him. He makes a comment about, I'm guessing we're both not fans of the Empire.
Right. No, and it's because, but what's nice about Lawson is that that doesn't matter to him because he's like, that's not my concern. My concern is the Empire not showing up at all. Like, I do not want the Empire to show up. And so you obviously don't want the Empire to show up either. Therefore, we have very similar interests, like, and we align clearly because the Empire would be bad for both of us, and I don't want that. But if you know something about this Maul guy that can help me, then I'll help you, kind of thing. Like it is a very mutual relationship. It's just interesting how uh he seems to know a lot about Jedi and yet doesn't because he I don't know, because Lawson's so confusing because when he says things like, "Oh, that's a laser sword," or I haven't seen that since the Clone Wars," or so he knows the whole situation with the
He
Jedi's
knows what a
then.
Jedi is, and he's
Right.
clocked Docky as one.
So yeah, it's just confusing. Section 3. Back in the darkness, Maul argues that he and Devon should work together, and that they share a common enemy, and that the Empire has turned the Jedi into hunted fugitives. Devon rejects his offer and chooses to escape instead, climbing towards the surface. At the warehouse, Lawson picks up Two Boots and learns the Shadow Collective is targeting the Pikes. During the flight, Two Boots argues for calling the Empire while Lawson refuses, insisting on handling it himself. Two Boots questions the reason is personal since Lawson's ex-wife works for the Empire. Meanwhile, Vario is intimidated into cooperating as Rookcast prepares him to deliver a message to the Pikes, and he contacts Pike leader Marg Krim and blames the Janix disruption on rogue elements, offering repayment to restore trust. Krim warns that any deception will lead to deadly consequences before the transmission ends.
Once again, I cannot possibly talk about everything that Maul says, so I've
I
identified one line that I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
He asks Devon, have you ever encountered one of the Jedi Hunters?
Mm,
Remember that line. It will
yeah.
be important later
I
when
mean,
Bradley's life gets immeasurably better.
I love that he's also from just a storytelling standpoint. I love that they have seeded the Inquisitors coming here. Even if you didn't watch any of the marketing, which would be really hard not to, obviously, which they put obviously Merrick and the Inquisitors in the marketing very heavily.
Oh, yes. They wanted
Uh,
you to know they were
they wanted
coming.
you to know that was going to happen. Had they not done that, him seeding this right here would be a very huge reveal later on because it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Now he's talking about Jedi hunters. He's like, you've never even encountered one of those before, implying like obviously they're going to show up at some point. She hasn't. She doesn't understand
No.
what that means yet, and that they are worse than any Imperial, stormtrooper just finding you and then like arresting you.
Yeah, and that's something too with Devon that keeps coming up is that she doesn't really seem to understand the situation that she's currently in. Nobody in Janik seems to understand except for Lawson.
Right.
Lawson gets what the problems are, and even he doesn't know about the Inquisitors. Like, he just knows Empire bad. The others don't really
Right.
seem prepared, which for some people like Riley and Devon and Two Boots is kind of understandable. Docky is stupid. He is a stupid, stupid man who should know better and just doesn't.
Well, I wonder also,
I don't
does
know how he
Docky,
has survived for as long as he
well,
has.
I was gonna say, does Docky even know that they have Jedi hunters?
Oh, that's
Like,
a good point.
because
He
I don't
may
even
not
know,
be aware.
right? Because as far as they know, because they've just been on the run, I mean, yeah, they could possibly tune into the news once in a while, but I don't know.
I just had a thought. I just had
Okay.
a thought. A thing just occurred into my brain. A thought popped in. Do you remember the end of the first Barris episode of Tales of the Empire?
Let me think.
Do you remember specifically the scene where the Inquisitors are kneeling in front of Vader?
Uh-huh.
Hold on. I'm going to pull up the list
Okay.
of
The
ones
four of
that
them?
are the four Inquisitors
I
that are
know it's
kneeling.
Merrick, Crow, Barris, and I don't know why I can't think of the fourth one. Oh, is it fourth sister?
It's the
Is it,
fourth sister.
yeah, it has to be her,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, you got it right. It's Barris, who our friends over at First Steps thinks may be the first sister.
That makes
even though
sense.
it's never confirmed, but that makes a lot of sense. Fourth sister, first brother, who is Merrick,
Yep.
according to Wikipedia,
Right.
and the 11th brother, who is Crow,
Crow.
according to Wikipedia. The Inquisitors we see in the show are probably the first batch of Inquisitors. That episode probably took several months of time. If this is taking place in the first year, the Jedi Hunters may have just come into existence. Maul knows about them
Mm.
because they've probably come after him before.
Because he's high
Because Sidious
priority. Yeah.
hates his ass
Right. Right. Right.
and needs to get rid of him. But nobody else has probably known about
Interesting.
the Inquisitors before now.
So then possibly the
Other
second
in,
episode
uh,
of Tales of the Empire with the Barris or whatever, where there
I
it's
think it's episode
them.
4, and then episode 5 is the one where she
Oh,
ditches the Inquisitors.
okay. So the one where she's with Lynn and they're hunting the Jedi together, that could theoretically be taking place at the same time as this. Like, because
Theoretically,
if Merrick and Crow are together, her and Lynn are together as a kind
yep,
of like a duo, that would actually kind of make sense.
yes. That's my thought is that they were the first batch of Inquisitors
I like that.
to ever be created, and the others are currently being trained. But that
Mm,
also explains why we never see Merrick or Crow or Barris or Lynn in any of the comics or any of the books.
right.
That's the second wave of Inquisitors. They've got this first wave who are more of the hunters.
I see. Okay.
And you've got the second wave that's much more of Vader's personal strike force.
Right. I like that. I like that
Yes.
theory.
Yes. Apparently, the blonde officer we don't give a shit about because he is standing next to Brander Lawson's, the tied for the hottest man in the show, is named Officer Reb.
Yes.
This is literally like the only note that I have
Okay.
about the entire scene with Two Boots.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, because Reb gets shot or whatever, something happens to him during this firefight, and he's like, "Oh no, Officer Reb got hurt," and then everybody's like, "Oh no,
who the fuck is that?
the poor twink officer got hit."
Oh no, the guy that the
Well,
guy
funny
that
enough,
we've never known anything about, except he is also a cop.
well, what's funny is the show tends to do this, by the way. They keep introducing like a secondary cop character with a name that is in more than one episode, but then just like kind of like disappears after a couple episodes. So like Officer Reb has, I looked it up, I think it's like 4 episodes, but then he's replaced by another cop character in, I think it's in episode 4 is where he gets replaced. So next week we'll see a new guy, and I'm like with a name and everything. And it's just interesting that these like because there's not very many human cop characters other than Lawson, so it's weird that they keep introducing these random officer characters. But the voice actor is pretty hot.
Who is the voice officer for Officer Reb?
The voice actor for Officer Reb is Sam Corlett. He's an Australian actor. He was in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So he plays the hot demon character, Caliban, in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I just looked up his IMDb profile, and yes, he does.
Yep. There you
Oh boy,
go.
that's a very, very
Just worth
attractive
noting.
man.
Just worth noting.
Worth noting that he's here and being attractive.
Yep.
Yes. He plays Leif Erikson in Vikings Valhalla, a show which apparently I need to watch.
You're like, maybe I need to watch that show.
Okay, so now we're on to the Two Boots and Lawson in the
Yes,
car
in
scene.
the conversation. Hmm.
And here's where we get the Two Boots is basically says, well, the Republic used to send guys to help. Like the Republic would send
Yes.
Jedi Knights. And Lawson is like, the Empire is not the Republic, which Two Boots just doesn't understand.
Right.
And I think we have covered this significantly in the episode. So I want to move on to the next line, which
The
is
bit
the
that made us
line
both
where,
audibly gasped when we were watching the show.
once again, we were sitting on the couch together.
Yes.
And when this line happened, we both literally audibly gasped on the couch.
Which I don't think
because
I've
so much
ever
made
done.
sense.
Why?
No,
I don't think I've
both
ever
of
done
us
that
were
watching
like,
TV.
I've had instances where one person and not the other
Yes.
has had a reaction, but I've almost never had a moment where I'm watching TV with someone and both of us have the same reaction.
Simultaneously had the same exact thought, and our brains both sparked when Two Boots said this.
He said, I'm paraphrasing here, do you not want to call the Empire because your former wife works for them? And we were both like, oh.
We both like I think we both
it
said like oh
immediately-
shit in the same moment.
We
Like,
both
were
said, oh shit. Because it went from Oh man, it sucks that he's estranged from his wife, but a little weird that he doesn't want Riley anywhere near her.
Right. I wonder why.
Like it's strange that he wants her to be like supervised.
Hmm.
No, she drunk the fascist Kool-Aid.
She works fully
That's
with the
why he
Empire.
doesn't want her. It's year like 1 or 2, probably,
Yeah.
of the Empire. And she's all in, and we're gonna see her in another episode. When she talks to Riley, and I think it's episode 5, I was like holding on to the couch in rage with some of the things that she tells him
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because she is all in Empire Kool-Aid. And it's like, oh no, you understand, Lawson, why the Empire sucks because you saw it happen to your family.
Right.
You were a little microcosm of the whole galaxy. Oh, it's amazing how that one line
It's crazy.
recontextualizes everything
Everything. Because
that we have.
now Lawson's relationship with his wife, it's not the same as like a regular cop trope. Because the like regular cop trope of like a divorced dad and he's the cop and then his wife is just estranged, they just don't like each other. It's not
No,
usually
or
like
she's
a
sick of his job, or
right or
she's
whatever.
like,
Yeah.
she doesn't like that, like, maybe the person's putting the family in danger. There's
Right.
some reason, and it's generally related to being a cop because these shows are usually propaganda, and she has to be a villain for
Of course.
disliking the fact that he is a cop trying to do his job.
Hmm.
This completely flips that on its head
Yes.
because it's now not about Lawson's job.
Right.
It is about the fact that she joined up with the authoritarian regime currently stomping down the entire galaxy, and he's
Hmm.
not okay with that.
Right.
Now it's a whole different dynamic.
Amazing.
I
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it because it's going to be so good
Oh,
when we get to there.
I'm saving. I was gonna go off on one, but then she opened her mouth in episode 5
Yeah.
and started spewing Empire propaganda, and I went, I'm gonna need to talk about this here.
Well, we'll
I'm
put a
gonna
pin
need to
in
have
that
this. We'll
conversation
put a
because I
pin
can't
in
wait. Yeah.
that because that's coming. Jump back to our good buddy Vario, who is still stuck in a cell where they have not fed him the entire time he's been in there.
And he's a little guy, so he probably has a very
He's a
fast
tiny little
metabolism.
guy. He talks about his gizzard eating itself. Then he immediately, like when Rookcast walks in, fucks on the whole thing by starting to order Nerf steak from her
Hmm.
because he can't help himself. This is what I love about Vario. This is why he's so relatable to me personally, because he can't help but make some fucking comment because he has to just yap. He has to just yap at the situation until it's fixed. And if he's not going to yap at the situation until it's fixed, then he's going to entertain himself. And she's like, do you ever shut up? And he's like, no, I don't. I love him. He is my favorite little guy from this show because he's just like me for real.
Do you think he'll make it out of this show?
No, he's going to fucking die. He's going to get fucking killed.
I don't know. He also gives the vibe of being like such a crafty like character that no matter the odds, he gives Hondo. Like he gives Hondo Onaka like no matter what, he's just gonna make it. He's gonna make it
You
through
know
no matter
what?
what.
I could also see him managing to constantly talk his way out of everything he's in.
I think he's gonna make it. I do. I think he's gonna make
I
it.
could see him doing that.
I could see it. Now, I could also see him tragically blowing up randomly for no reason at some point in the end, but I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
the nice thing again about this show is other than Maul himself,
We have no idea.
we have no idea of the fates of any of these characters. That's part of the brilliance of it. Well,
Sand
Merrick,
Inquisitors, but
we know Crow's
well,
going to
have to.
eventually get
Right.
killed by the Crow Inquisitor's eventually going to get killed by Ahsoka.
Hmm.
So he's safe. And Merrick might die, but we know he's gonna come back for the Ahsoka show.
Right. Which we think, my theory is that we will see Merrick's original death, is what I'm calling it,
And
in
then the
this
Night
show.
Sisters will bring him back. Yeah.
Correct.
I do have a note here to please watch these episodes at least once with the subtitles on so you can hear what Spybot is saying.
Okay.
It's so fucking funny. He just looks at Vario and's like, I want to hurt you so badly. And I'm like, I love this droid. He's a little psychopath.
Spybot for the win.
Spybot,
Honestly.
I need the Spybot merch for days.
Yes, I want a Spybot everything. I want a little Spybot on my desk.
And then we get a moment where I turned to you and was freaking out because it looks so fucking gorgeous. We get a shot of Obadiah.
Hmm.
Obadiah, if we remember, is the Pike homeworld. It is their base of operations. Just Google what it looked like in Clone Wars versus what it looks like now.
Okay.
Because holy fucking shit. Holy shit, the glow up on Obadiah. Oh my, it's just, I can't even describe the
Right.
sensation of watching. Janix is one thing because we've never seen Janix before.
Sure.
Obadiah is like the case study in this is how the animation has unbelievably
Evolved.
grown
Yeah.
up
Mhm.
since even Clone Wars season 7. Like,
Okay.
then we get our first look in the show at a gentleman that I was speculating would show up and hoping would show up. And he did. It's Marg Krim, the current leader of the Pike Syndicate, voiced by Steven Stanton.
Right.
Marg Krim is here.
Yeah.
I love this dude.
And apparently, I mean, I've seen like people put side by sides. Obviously, the animation has improved
He's
because
gotten a
they
redesign.
slightly
He looks
redesigned.
different
Yeah.
now. It does look a lot better. I
Right.
do want to briefly mention while I we have him. There's a line that he says that I just thought was really funny. He threatens to feed Vario to his Nexu horde.
Yes.
Fun
Another
fact.
another line that we were like, oh,
So fun Bradley and Charles fact is there was a period where like we were in the process of becoming friends, and part of what sparked us going from I think going from like just people who knew each other from class to actually starting to be friends was discovering our shared love for Star Wars, specifically the fact that Bradley and I both owned the same Attack of the Clones Nexu toy
yeah,
when we were kids.
which I still have.
I also still have mine.
Well, is it my original one? I can't remember if I had to buy a new one or not, but whatever. It's the same exact toy
I know
regardless.
I have my original one.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up the Nexu Horde because I thought it was funny.
I want to see his Nexu horde because I want to see it. I don't care how we do it. I want to see it.
I also would like to see that. I hope that becomes a thing. I hope Maul gets the Nexu Horde.
Yeah, I want him to take it over and use it. Section 4. At headquarters, Chief Kleiss tells Lawson that Two Boots went over his head and suggested contacting the Empire. Lawson defends the droid while Kleiss worries about Maul's threat, but also remains hesitant to involve the Empire. Lawson insists the search is ongoing and promises control over the situation, while Kleiss restricts Two Boots to desk duty. Meanwhile, Devon escapes the pit but is confronted by Maul, who refuses to let her go and challenges her, leading to a lightsaber duel where he mocks her training and sense of hope. Despite being knocked down and taunted, Devon fights on and breaks free towards the exit. Maul uses the Force to take back his stolen lightsaber, and as she runs into the light, he reveals he knows her name.
Again, I have to shout out how fucking beautiful this show is. The way that the clouds create the atmosphere of looming doom as we have the shot of the Janix police station.
Hmm.
Incredible. Incredible. Two Boots did go over Lawson's head to the chief, but I also find it interesting that the chief is starting to agree with Two Boots.
Right,
That
like
she's
on
like,
the
maybe
one
we
hand, she's
do
like,
need to be calling the Empire.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this may be out of our ability to handle.
But like on the other hand, she's like, fuck, I don't want the Empire to come here.
Yes. Hmm.
And for good reason, But
So I thought that was interesting. She is a very interesting character. I can't wait to see more of her,
I know I
to
can't wait to
borrow a
see what
joke
else she
from
does.
Chris. I can't wait for her to be a major character in this show
Yeah.
and somebody who is forced to deal with a lot of conflicting issues on a lot of different sides. I can't wait for her to be fleshed. No, no, this will go really badly for her.
Yeah. I can't wait.
She's right to be apprehensive, but she also is in a situation where, yeah, no, they're not prepared to deal with Maul. Maul requires a level of professional that no one on Janix is.
Not a single person.
The Jedi Order could barely deal with Maul.
They couldn't really deal with them
It
all.
took it took
Took two Jedi.
Ahsoka, the basically entire one entire company of the 501st,
Hmm.
and a bunch of Mandalorians to capture Maul.
The second time.
The second time, yes.
Right. So not only like they had to do it multiple, they had to catch him multiple times because yes, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan technically kill him in the
They
first
kill
one, but
him, and then I think that it takes Obi-Wan and Ventress to like space them in that pod
right.
in season 4. And then they're not prepared. Janix is
No
not
one's ever
prepared to deal
prepared.
with
Yeah.
Maul. No. No. And ultimately Maul will be his own undoing.
Of course.
Like in Rebels, Ezra's not going to stop him. He's just going to resist him for long enough that Maul can eventually fuck up his own life. Speaking of Maul, I have lots. Brace yourself. You may
Okay,
think that
I'm
because
ready.
we're at the
I'm locked
end.
in.
Okay. We'll start with the shot of Maul's like shadow looming over Devon.
Every time they do that shot, I love it.
Subtlety is for cowards.
Hmm.
It is the literal shadow of Maul overtaking her.
Love it.
And then on top of that, we have this fight between the two of them. The music by the Kiners is fucking amazing. I like how it ebbs and flows every time. Like it gets grander as they fight and then comes back down for them to talk. And then gets grander as they fight and they get the choir in there and it's back down as they're talking. It's incredible the way it syncs with the scene. And then just the choreography of the fight between them is breathtaking. Like Devon has this move where she's flat on her back and she spins around
Uh-huh.
and does like I think it's a kip up. She does this sort of spin around and then uses the momentum of the spin
Right.
to propel herself upwards out of off of the ground. Like Jesus Lord, it's incredible.
No, everything they do in this scene, even the fact that Maul is holding back, is such a
Yeah.
subtle detail, but like he's fighting her with one arm behind his back the whole time.
So I stumbled upon a trivia. You could tell if you're watching the Patreon video version of this, I literally just sat up bolt upright in my seat. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you mentioned that because there are certain kinds of Star Wars nerd, right? And I am a certain kind of Star Wars nerd. I don't know all the Star Wars all the time. This is why I have other Star Wars nerds around me to notice stuff that I don't. You can be a lightsaber forms nerd. I am not a lightsaber forms nerd, but I'm familiar with them. Maul generally uses a form called Juyo, which is form 7, which is generally used by Darksiders. Maul uses it, the Grand Inquisitor uses it. There's a variant called Vapad, which was established by Mace Windu that he uses, but generally this is a dark side form that you're going to use. It's very, very, very rare, but it's one that channels rage and aggression into the form. Maul is not using that form in this fight. Maul is so convinced that he is going to win this that he has switched to form 2, Makashi. Makashi is a fencing form. It
Mm,
is a gentlemanly form that is meant for saber to saber combat. The biggest practitioner of this one is Count Dooku.
okay.
Maul is so convinced that he is just toying with Devon. He has completely changed fighting style. And that's why
Mm,
when you bring up the arm behind the back, it's even deeper than that because when Dooku fights, notice he always has his arm behind his back because it's a
right.
fencing form. So Maul is using that to basically just fuck with Devon because he's using a form that she can only really beat by channeling her aggression and anger. And he is
Interesting. Okay.
fully convinced she won't do it. But also, the only way she's going to break his guard is by channeling her anger. The fucking details in the writing and direction of this show is insane. And I think it speaks so highly to the creative team because remember, Dave Filoni just gave note on this. He's not involved in the day to day of making the show.
Right.
So the writers and the directors know Star Wars so well that they can throw in those details. Maul, yeah, just basically he's making her angry. The facial animation when she screams in frustration, holy shit, wow. And then, yes, he does reveal that he's either known her name the whole time or he has
Hmm.
gleaned her name from the fight because he got into her head while they were fighting. Unclear from the text, but we get the drop of he knows who she is now.
So there is something in this scene too that people were talking about that I think maybe has something to do with it. And you watch with subtitles, correct?
Yes.
So I don't know if this is in the trivia guide or anything, but I did notice people were talking about it online, where if you watch with the subtitles during their fight, there is a moment where the subtitles says Maul's sword, and then it says Latin phrase or whatever, and it's or the Sith speak or whatever I don't
Yes.
know what it's called, but it says the words, and then somebody was saying that like, oh, the reason why his sword is speaking or whatever is that it's like that's what's telling him like her name or whatever like that, I guess, and some kind of like telepathy thing bullshit or whatever. But then did you look up what the words mean?
I did not. I
Okay.
know from the trivia guide that we can hear at points where he at one point where he talks to her that it's the same ominous Latin chanting cue from the Phantom Menace.
Yes, it's the same exact phrasing from the song or whatever, or the the song.
There's a
The
little
words from
whisper.
the chanting.
Yeah, there's a little whisper that you can hear of the chanting when he's like
Correct.
walking down the scimitar's
Right.
like ramp. It's the same cue. Yes, from
Correct.
the Phantom Menace.
And I was like, oh, maybe that's the what the chanting. I mean, obviously the chanting is just Sith speak, but whatever. But
Yeah, it's
it could
ominous
be like
Latinish chanting.
right, but it could be theoretically the evil spirits or whatever the fuck.
The
I
dark
don't
side
even
of the
yeah,
Force
the
is
dark side of the
telling
force just
him
telling him what he wants to know. Like, which is possible. I mean,
the evil wizard is doing evil wizard things.
sure.
I think this episode works whether you assume he knew her name from the beginning
I like to
or whether
believe
he
so,
just
but
figured it out here. I think
yeah.
I have not found anything that confirms one way or the other.
Hmm.
Any primary sources. So right now, within the context of the text that we are
Right.
working with directly in front of us, I think you can interpret it either way and it works. And then finally, the episode ends on an absolutely banger shot where it like everything darkens except his eyes for just a moment. Maul eyes are a thing with Maul. Lots of really evocative shots of him with just his eyes. And that's where the episode ends.
Love it.
Holy shit. Wow, this episode was really good.
No, this is really good. It's a great stinger. I like it a lot. Again, I don't know. I feel like I would have liked to just watch the whole entire thing in one big, that's a personal preference, obviously. Like obviously it works the way that it has done it. I think I just would have preferred to watch in segments. Like I would have liked to watch all of the Lawson stuff together, all of the Ludi Vario stuff together, and then watch the Devon and Maul stuff in one big, like really end cap 8 minute long scene. Like it would
And
have just been really cool.
that boils down to personal preference,
No, for
really.
sure. That is a personal preference.
I'm not going to say you're wrong for
Yeah.
personally preferring if you
No.
were writing, you would have structured this a different way. So I definitely understand.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
can
yeah.
see it. That would have also been a really good episode.
It would have been sick.
This episode was written by Julia Cooperman. It's her only credit so far on Maul Shadow Lord, but she previously wrote 2 episodes of Willow, the TV show Willow, which I'm gonna die fucking mad about.
Rest in peace.
So she had previously worked with Lucasfilm, written shows like Pantheon, wrote an episode of Pantheon, wrote 12 episodes of Colony. I am most familiar with her work. I haven't watched it, but it's a show I'm the most familiar with the existence of. She wrote 2 episodes of The Winchesters, the
Oh,
supernatural
spin-off.
prequel show
Yeah. That
that they tried to
only
do that got
lasted for like a
canceled
season.
after one season.
Yeah.
Yes. So this episode was directed by Stuart Lee. We've talked about him before. He directed episode 1. Now, do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts are I thought this was a great episode and I I don't remember too much about next week, but next week will inform my theory that every episode is a pair and that they belong together and that there's a reason. It's not just we have to hurry up and get to May the 4th. I feel like maybe they were loosely designed to be pairs. I don't know.
I'm
It's
starting to think that the more I watch them.
I know. I'm thinking because especially 5 and 6, I got the idea that that was meant to be a pair.
Oh,
Like there
I
was
couldn't tell
no.
you where episode 5 ended and episode 6 began.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm thinking like I'll need a refresh next week because it's been a minute since I've watched episode 4. So I need to like
Yes.
remember what happens. Just because we're so we're so blended with all this stuff now because we're watching some and then we're going back. So it's kind of hard to separate them in my mind. But I still believe that yeah, I think they're meant to be pairs. And so this is a very strong opening, we'll say. I think that usually the first episode tends to be stronger than the second episode. However, because the action is getting more intense or the plot is plotting, as you would say, they are going to start to get stronger as we go on because the second episode will be meant to heighten the action and thus also leave us on a cliffhanger for the following week, right? So I feel like they're going to start to get stronger as we go, and then the first one might get weaker. But so far, I don't seem to think that's the case. I think this is actually a really strong episode. It is, I mean, as far as I can tell, this works so well on its own. I don't really think it needs a sister episode. This would have worked as a singular week. We would have had to wait a week for the next one kind of thing. Like this, it's very satisfying. There's a lot that goes on and there's a lot of contextual things that happen, character growth for Lawson and the Riley, kind of thing. It all works really well. So I'm very happy with this week's episode.
My final thought is that I used to, when we would do recaps for because we always do our episode 0, and then we do an episode where we just look back on the series that we just finished, or the season that we just finished of the series. I have not been doing that the past year or two, partially because I'm just busy. My point is that I haven't really done that. I am definitely going to do that for this one. And the reason is I think looking at this one, like the way it follows on episode 2 so effectively, it has its own central theme and intentionality behind it. Like it's not just moving the characters around, like it's doing something, it's advancing the stories, and it leads right into episode 4. The way that the show structurally works together, I think is going to be really rewarding, both on the rewatch when I know what's going to happen and I can see how it was setting everything up, but also just to be able to take in the whole narrative that they're telling overall. So I loved this episode a lot. What are we talking about next week, Bradley?
Next week, we're talking about chapter 4. I don't know the name because I didn't look up.
Pluggables. Bradley.
Yes, if you're into reality TV, I've had the chance to work behind the scenes on shows like Married to Medicine on Bravo. And right now, my current show, season 2 of Temptation Island, is now on Netflix.
And if you want to hear me bitching about Temptation Island, the first 3 episodes, for damn near 30 minutes, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Gold Squadron Gaze.
And hopefully I'll have some new shows to announce soon-ish.
Please.
The problem is, like, 2 of them are still filming, which is crazy. But
I am dying to talk about some of these men. Yeah. Very hot men surround Bradley. And I need to be thirsty on Maine because I'm single now.
Loves it.
I could always have done that, but now I can be more aggressive about it. You can find me on the Star Wars TTRPG podcast For Light and Dice. That is a TTRPG podcast set in the High Republic era. It has started season 3. We've recorded 2 sessions. It's really good. If you like crime dramas like Maul Shadow Lord is, and you want to see me take a crack at it, I have a series of crime thriller novels. Those are called Beach House Studios. Those are available on Amazon, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble. And I'm also working on some new stuff that I can't talk about yet. And it's absolutely killing me, but I can't talk about it yet. But I promise you, new stuff is also going to come.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was our episode. Run our socials. Yay. Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com and let us know. You can follow us on BlueSky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Gold Squadron Gaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post full episodes of this podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also rate us and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze. Willow was great. Would love to recommend that people go watch it on Disney Plus, but the motherfuckers took it off for no fucking good reason. So, no, I don't care what the reason they said. It wasn't fucking good one. The fact that they yanked that show off, not giving it a season 2, fine, whatever. Fuck you for taking it off. Personally angry about that on behalf of the people I know that worked on the show.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to fucking die angry about the fact that the Willow show is no longer available on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Put it back, you fucking useless cow. Fuck you for taking that off.